In this lecture, you are going to learn how to design a solid data structure with multiple tables on multiple worksheets and how to create a pivot table from them. The data model feature that we are going to use is available in Excel version 2013 and above. Now let's get into it. This is kind of an advanced topic. A real-world business logic and its workflow can be very complex. Be prepared for facing with lots of challenges when you decide to turn your business flow into an Excel database. This lecture cannot be a complete guide on that, including all the possible pitfalls. I just like to give you an introduction to this topic and give you clues for further discovery. When you plan your data model, you probably start with the textual description. Let's take our imaginary training company as an example. We have instructors who create online courses in different categories. Each course has a publish date. We store several information about our instructors, like full name, age, phone number, and email address. We record each sales transaction. It includes the transaction date, course, and the sale price. We'd like to create a data structure which we can maintain easily, like inserting new data. We'd like to create reports from the data quickly, and the data model should be easily extended later without affecting our existing application logic or reports. When you create tables in Excel, you basically create a data model, a data structure, or a relational database. There is a method existing to do this right. It's called database normalization. It was first proposed by Edgar F. Codd, an English computer scientist, in 1970. The normalization is a database design technique. It's the process of structuring your data in a way that you eliminate data redundancy and maintain data integrity. First, you identify your real-world entities and separate them into their own respective tables. Entity attributes will be columns in these tables. You also create relations between these tables. All of these can be accomplished by applying some formal rules called normal forms. They are called first normal form, second normal form, and so on. I'm not going deeper into this theory because it's way beyond the scope of this course. But feel free to search for the term database normalization if you are interested in. Let's see how it looks in practice. You can find this Excel file in Resources. I have identified our data entities and put them on separate worksheets. Our most important data entity is called courses. Each of our data entities or tables will have an ID column. In case of courses table, it's called course ID. Each course has a unique identifier in this first column. It is also called primary key. We can use this ID to refer to a course in other tables without storing redundant data there. The maintenance of course data will also be simple. We can edit them in one single place in the courses table. We store all the data that relate to a course in this table, like its title or publish date. Now we could also store its category here, but we would have data redundancies then. Plus, it's more elegant to store this information in a separate table. Each category has a unique ID, so we can refer to them in the courses table. We apply the same rule for instructors. They are in a separate table, having a primary key in the first column, which we use in the courses table. An instructor can have multiple attributes like name, age, phone number, email, and more. Here is our sales transactions table. Each transaction has a unique ID, the transaction ID. Each transaction has a date, of course, and we refer to a course in each transaction. For simplicity, one transaction can have only one course in our data model. If we'd like to allow more courses in a transaction, we would need an extra table containing transaction details. But we are keeping things simple now. In the last column, we store the sale amount. Now let's see how we can use these tables on separate worksheets in one pivot table. As a first step, I'm going to convert all of our dataset into Excel tables. Make sure your active cell is inside your dataset. Hit Ctrl+T. Hit OK. It's important to give a name to our table so we can identify that easily. I enter the name of our entity here and hit Enter. I set this gray table style. And I perform these steps for the other worksheets as well. By the way, you cannot use space character in table name, but that's okay. Alright, now make sure you are inside this table, go to Insert, and click on Pivot Table button. New worksheet is just fine. Check this Add this data to the data model option at the bottom. This is an important step. Hit OK. Let me drag and drop this worksheet over here and name it. Now this Pivot Table Fields panel looks almost the same, just like in the previous lecture. However, there is one exception. This All tab here. Click on that. Here we can see our tables and their columns. At this point we need to define relations between our tables using the ID fields. Make sure you are inside this pivot table placeholder, go to Analyze and click on Relationships. Now it would be good to have this auto detect feature work, but unfortunately it doesn't. So I click on the New button and set the relations one by one. When we use this course ID primary key in other table, like in this transaction table, it's called foreign key. I hit OK. So I created a relation between sales transactions and courses tables. Let me do this quickly for the other relations as well. I connect courses with categories, and courses with instructors. I hit OK. I hit Close. Now Excel can visualize these connections for us. Let's go to Power Pivot and click on Manage button. A new window pops up. Click on this Diagram View button. I maximize this window. Here you can see our database structure. Let me adjust the layout here and there to see things better. You can drag and drop these tables and change their size to see all the column names. These lines represent relations. If I hover over a line or click on it, the connected columns will be highlighted, so you can check if they are the right ones. The 1 and the asterisk mean that one row from this table may belong to many rows in the other table. It seems that everything is in place in our data structure, so I close this window. Now we can put together our pivot table. Let's create a report that contains sales by instructor and date. I drag and drop instructor name field here and transaction date here. It seems that Excel has a bug here. Let's go to Analyze, Refresh, Refresh All. And the panel is showing the transaction date field now. Let's format these value fields. Right-click on a number, number format, currency, 0 decimal, hit OK. I right-click on this date area. Let me group them by month and years. And I remove the transaction date from here. Just to make sure, let's check January sales. We have some rounding taking place. But they are correct. Now let's see another report. Make sure your active cell is inside the pivot table. Go to Analyze, Clear, Clear All. I'd like to see sum of sales by course and year. Let me quickly format these numbers. And I hide grand totals here. Let's sort the list by 2020 sales. And our report is done in a minute. Alright, this is how you can create a pivot table from multiple tables. I hope this lecture was useful. See you in the next video.